Hey guys, I'm back with a new video. In this video, let us learn about inheritance in Java. Now, what is inheritance? So if you are familiar with any programming language that is OOP-based, you must be familiar about inheritance. Now, inheritance in Java is a mechanism in which one object acquires all the properties, the state, the behavior of the parent object. It's an important part of object-oriented programming. Now, the idea behind inheritance is that you can create new classes that are built upon existing classes. So let us write this down. New classes are built upon existing classes. Now, when you inherit from an existing class, you can reuse the functionalities, the methods, and the fields that you define right inside the parent class. So you can make use of them in the derived class. So the terminology is something like this. So you have a base class, and let us say we have a derived class that is derived from the base class. So the derived class can reuse the methods and the fields that we have in the base class. Moreover, the derived class can add new methods and fields in itself as well. So this is also known as a relationship, which is described using this parent-child relationship, right? So is a relationship. So if I say person is the base class, and then we have a class, say employee. So any functionality that you want to reuse in the employee class and that is currently sitting in the person class, you can inherit it from the base class, which is person in this case. So here you can say employee is a person. So there is a relationship between person and employee, right? Now let us understand the reasons why we would want to use inheritance in the first place. The first reason is method overriding, and this I touched briefly in one of my previous videos. I will make a detailed video on same, and then we will understand how we can implement overriding using code. Then the second reason is the reusability of code. Now, what do you mean by reusability of code? Reusability is something that facilitates you to reuse the fields and the methods of an existing class. For example, this person class. So you can reuse the functionalities that you have already defined in the person class and reuse them in a new class which inherits from the person class, right? So here in this case, in the employee class, you can reuse the functionalities defined in the person class by inheriting it. So you can use the same fields and methods that are already defined in the person class. So here person class is the base class and employee is the derived class. So next, let us understand the syntax using which you can perform inheritance. So let me clear this up. Now the syntax is very simple. You say class and then the name of your derived class or the subclass, which in this case is say employee. And now to inherit the fields and methods from some base class, which I will define in just a minute, you have to use the extends keyword. So let me mark this using a box. So we use this keyword and then we specify the base class, which in this case is person. And then right inside our curly braces, we define the methods and the fields. And we can also perform overriding of the methods that are defined in the person class. Now this extends keyword means that we are making a new class which is employee in this case, and it is based on the parent class which is person. So extends here means that the new derived class is being exposed to more functionalities than it earlier had. So earlier if it had 3 functionalities, now by extending from a base class, it could have 7 functionalities, right? So now let us see the types of inheritance in Java before we start writing some actual code. So let me clear the canvas first. Types of inheritance in Java. Now there can be 3 types of inheritance in Java. So first one is single inheritance. Then we have the multi-level inheritance. And last we have the hybrid inheritance. Now let us first discuss about the single inheritance. Now single inheritance is defined as when a class inherits from some other class. So one class inherits from one class. So it is known as single inheritance. So if you have class A and then you have some other class say B, and if A directly inherits from the class B, then B is known as the base class and A is known as the derived class, right? So let us see an example for this. Let us say we have an animal class. So if I say class animal, so this is our base class, and here let us say we have a method sleep, and let us print here system.out.println sleeping. Now let us say we want to inherit this method which is sitting right inside the animal class, and we want to reuse this functionality right inside our derived class. So let us first perform inheritance and define our child class. So we can say class, and let us say cat extends. So we are inheriting right from our base class, which is animal in this case, are extending the functionality of sleep from the base class, which is animal. So here we need to specify our base class and then our pair of curly braces. Now here let us define methods that pertain to the cat only. So void meow, and here let us print like this. So here we have the base class, and this is our derived class. Now let us define our driver code for this example. So class driver code, and here first we define our main method. So public static void main string array aux. Now the very first step here is to create a new instance of the derived class. So let us say cat c equals new cat. So this gives us a cat instance. Now on the cat instance we can access two methods. First is meow and second one is sleep, right? Because we are inheriting the sleep functionality from our base class, so we can access it, right? So I can say c.sleep and c.meow like this. So both will work. So on our output screen we will first get sleeping dot and meow, right? Now let us move forward to second type of inheritance, which is known as multi-level inheritance. So let me clear the canvas first. So multi-level inheritance. Now in multi-level inheritance, when a class extends or inherits a class, which in turn extends another class, then this is called as multi-level inheritance. So let us say we have a class C, and that extends from some class say B, which in turn extends from another class A. So here C extends class B, B extends class A. So this type of inheritance is known as multi-level inheritance. Now if you see it clearly, here you can see the concept of the parent of the base class as well. So we have the child class, then we have the parent class, and then we have a grandparent for it. So for this case, C is implicitly inheriting the properties and methods of class A along with the properties and methods of class B, right? So let us say if you have functionality here, say F1, and here we have F2, then you are getting both in class C, F1 as well as F2. So this is multi-level inheritance. Now let us see a simple example for this. So let us say we have a class gaming console. So class gaming console, and right here let us define our constructor. So public gaming console, and right here let us print class gaming console. Then let us define a class that inherits from the gaming console, but before that let us add one more function, or you can say method, right inside our gaming console class. So public static void, and let us say this is the display interface method that deals with the interface of the gaming console, right? So you can think of this class as a standard blueprint for a gaming console. And in turn, if you create any other specific gaming console like PlayStation or Game Boy Advance or Nintendo DS, then all will inherit from this gaming console class that we are defining as a blueprint, and we will extend the functionalities defined right inside the gaming console class. Say you have a bunch of functionalities, around 5 for example, then you will extend all those functionalities in your derived classes. And if you want to override any functionality, method overriding is also permissible, okay? So if we have PlayStation, it will have its own interface. So it will add its own functionality by overriding this display interface method. Then the Game Boy Advance will have its own interface, its own specific properties and behavior, right? So right here, let us define a class, PlayStation, and this class extends from the gaming console and here let us say we have our constructor method. So public PlayStation, and let us print here class PlayStation. Now this PlayStation class in turn can serve as a general blueprint for all the PlayStation consoles like PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and then by extending from this class, all other variants of the PlayStation can add some extra functionality or can override the methods defined in this PlayStation class, right? Or those that are defined in the gaming console. So this is what we do in multi-level inheritance. So let us add our third class. So class, say PS4, PlayStation 4, extends PlayStation class. So extends PlayStation. And here we can do some overriding for the methods that we have in our PlayStation class and define methods that only pertain to PlayStation 4. So let us define the constructor here. So public PS4 and system.out.println class PS4. So here PS4 is inheriting from the PlayStation class. Then the PlayStation class in turn is inheriting from gaming console, and the gaming console inherits from only the object class from which every other class directly or indirectly inherits from. So every other class in Java, be it PS4, PlayStation or gaming console, directly or indirectly inherits from the object class. Now if right inside the PS4 class, if you create a new instance for PS4, you can access all the functionalities that are available right inside the PlayStation class or inside the gaming console, and you can also perform overriding of the methods defined in these classes. So you can think of gaming console class as a general class for all the gaming consoles like PlayStation or any other device. So here PlayStation is extending from gaming console, and we inherit all the functionalities defined in the gaming console class. Then PS4 in turn extends from PlayStation and inherits the functionalities that are available within the PlayStation class, right? So if you create a new instance of PS4 class, you can access all the methods that we are getting from the top of the hierarchy which these three classes form, right? As shown here. Now let us move forward to the next type of inheritance, which is called as hierarchical inheritance. So hierarchical inheritance. And though we also have multiple and hybrid inheritance, but they are supported through interfaces only, which we will discuss in a separate video. So let us cover the hierarchical inheritance in this video. Now in case of hierarchical inheritance, we have two or more classes that inherit from a single class. So let us say we have a class A, class B, class C, and they inherit from a single class, say capital D. So this is the case for hierarchical inheritance. So now let us consider a simple example to understand hierarchical inheritance in great depth. So now let us define our general class, which is say animal. And right inside the animal class, we will house all the methods or all the things that an animal does, like sleep. So void sleep, and here we can say system.out.println sleeping. Then let us say we have the eat method. So system.out.println eating, and then we can have a couple of other methods. Now let us define our first derived class. So class cat extends from the animal class, and let us define here a method that pertains only to cat. So void meow, and here we can say system.out.println meow. And now let us define our third class. So class pigeon extends animal, and here let us say void fly. So system.out.println flying. Now the thing that you need to understand here is that when a class is extending from some base class, here we have the animal class, we'll get these two functionalities right inside our cat class because we are inheriting them, right? And same goes for pigeon as well. On top of that, we have our own methods in the cat class and the pigeon class. So the overall scene here is that we have a base class animal in which we have the sleep and eat methods, and then we have our two derived classes which are inheriting from the animal class. So first one is the cat class, and the cat class now has three functionalities. Two, it is inheriting from the animal class, so we have sleep. Then the second one is eat, and then it has its own functionality which is meow, and the same goes for pigeon as well. Two, it is inheriting from the base class, so pigeon. So first one is sleep that we are getting from the top, then we are also getting eat method from the top, and then the pigeon has its own fly method. Now one thing you need to understand here is that if an instance that we define for the pigeon class wants to access the meow method, that will throw a compile time error, and same goes for the cat class as well. So if for a cat instance you try to access the method fly, then you will get a compile time error, right? So this was all I wanted to cover about the theory of inheritance. If you liked the video, do give it a thumbs up or comment down below if you have any query. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and let's catch up in the very next one.